Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Finally I Choose Me. Um, Tonight's conversation is really a conversation that I think we all need to have. I have with me tonight the amazing Tamara J. Brown, who is a bona fide, fortified clinician and servant to the community. She's not from our area, she's actually from Texas.
Mhm.
But anyone who is in the helping profession, rather clergy, rather clinical or mental health, I think this conversation is for you as well. But it's also for just those who are suffering, who are facing challenges, who are grieved, who are suffering with traumatic grief. Just, I call it community and global grief when you look at what's going on. So for tonight's show, we just want to have a conversation about the help. How do we help as clinicians? What information can be provided so that people will know what to do in the event they are in crisis? Suicide rates are increasing. Domestic violence is increasing. I have some alarming statistics. And I just really feel like no one is talking about it. I mean, we may talk about it with our families, with our inner circles, but I don't hear enough noise about it. And it could have been me, the young lady at work who went to work to make a living, and her body, she comes off work in a body bag. I mean, that's unacceptable. And one of the things that I get so enraged about is that we always make the victim the victim. And
Mhm.
there was no reason, whatever she did or did not do, it should not have cost her her life. My
Mhm.
pastor gave some alarming rates today. He said within the last 30 days, there have been 45 shootings here where we live, and 34 of those shootings involved children.
Mm.
I mean, we talk about everything. What's happening on social media, who going with who divorced who. And no one is saying anything out loud to me. And I know my space and circle may be very limited, but I just think we need to have some conversation. And so I have Tamara. I think mental illness, Tamara, of course, have been around.
Mhm.
Um, Before we go further, can you just share who you are, what you do, what your focus is in your practice, your certifications, your licensing? Kind of talk about what led you there, and then we just gonna dive in.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. C. So honored to be here and to be in this space. So excited about what you're doing and what you are spearheading. And so I'm so grateful to be a part of this experience. I am Tamara J. Brown. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Texas, in the city of San Antonio. I am what you call an EMDR consultant in training. And EMDR is uh, sometimes in some spots and places among some folk a big conversation. I would like to see it become more um, of a big conversation among people of color, because I'm finding out that a lot of folks don't know a lot about EMDR and don't even know it's available for them, for their families and communities, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But my particular focus as a clinician, Dr. C, is I work. Um, God sends me the folks with all the big and the little traumas. So I work more specifically with complex trauma, um, folks who have been through a lot of difficult things. Sometimes that trauma involves grief, and it could take on many different flavors. I've just learned to say yes to those that God sends to my virtual doors. But complex trauma, anxiety, things of that nature. And for a very funny, well, I think God got a sense of humor. I wasn't laughing, but I began to also serve couples and do lots of attachment work in my practice.
Mhm.
What led me here, Dr. C, and I think that in our um, saying yes to the divine call of God on our lives, whether it's in ministry, in the church, or wherever we serve, or if it's out here in the clinical field. It's no secret that a lot of the times that when we find ourselves in working in the field of healing and helping people to recover, it's because of the stuff we've gone through. So I will be very transparent and say that what led me here was my own need to heal and grow, and recover beyond some very complex and very difficult things, of which I've done some healing and still got some to go.
Amen to that. And we all do. My pastor spoke today about, bless Bishop Van for his message today, but he talked about being able to be transparent enough to say, I still got work to do. And in that, I want people to know that it's okay, that you have work to do. There is no way that we can experience some of the things we've experienced in grief or abuse or sexual abuse. And now just secondary trauma. I may not have been abused, but I tell you, when I see the violence, or when I see another woman lose her life, what I do say is that could have been me. And as a result of that, I'm upset. Sometimes struggling with what to do next in terms of this field. How do people get help? Do people want help? We were taught to suppress so that we could just survive, so that we can make it. We were taught to keep our business to ourselves. And I think it's the new modern day anxiety that's been manifesting for years in people. And now it's acceptable to say it, but no one is talking about how do I be healed from it. And they just continue to repeat that cycle. And so as a clinician, how do we in today's world, how do we reach out? How do we make therapy available? How do we present it so that it's not intimidating, so that it doesn't make one feel that they're crazy, quote unquote? Therapists now are becoming overwhelmed. They have waiting lists. They too have lives that they are dealing with. Our churches, we pray at the altar. I don't know. We have altar calls sometimes if you overwhelmed. We're in crisis. We're in crisis governmentally, crisis community, gun violence. I just read statistics that said 140 women die daily due to domestic violence. But we're all in our little silos, if you will, to help who we can help. And sometimes it's like, do I even want to do this? Because is it effective? You know what I mean? Like, what are you experiencing as a professional clinician / Black woman who's on the forefront of all of this pain?
Oh, Dr. C, so loaded, I'll share this, and this is what kind of will segue into everything. Back in 2015, I had just finished grad school, and I was in a training with a psychologist who was a Gestalt psychologist from Mexico. And, coming out of grad school as a clinician is a lot all in itself, right? And then I'm trying to find what therapy model, what therapy approach matches who I am, right? I'm trying to find my thing. So I go to this psychologist who is a Gestalt psychologist, and he's teaching, little short statued Hispanic man. And he says to us, Dr. C, out the gate, blew me away. His presence was so poised and full of calm and peace, right? And he says to us, he said, before you were ever given a clinical title, before you were ever given these alphabets after your name, he said, in ancient times, you were known as the healers. And don't forget that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's not that you are responsible for people's healing, but he said, there are many who are going to be called to do this work, but there are a few who are really chosen, right?
Wow.
And he said, and the people, those of you all who are chosen, you will need to remember, you are not the clinical worker. You are the healer. That means that the healing essence of the divine flows through you to channel that to people and communities. So you cannot afford to just do the work. You have to live this as a lifestyle. Blew me away. That seed was in my heart. Of course, it had to nurture and came full circle, landed me to here now, because everywhere we go, we are experiencing what I tell folk is welcome to human suffering.
Human suffering. Wow.
And we uncomfortably are having to look at, and we can choose to ignore, we can choose to dismiss, but what we're looking at collectively is human suffering. And human suffering, because, Dr. C, in my clinical view and in my experience as a human, what I'm coming to realize, and just like how cell phones and the phones have evolved and cars have evolved across time, what we're now noticing is that in aforetime and in other generations, even spiritually, biblically, they didn't have language really to describe what was going on. They didn't. They just tried to name it as much as they could, but they didn't have the language. And unfortunately, and I say sorry most humbly, not out of pity, but in regards of empathy and compassion for human suffering, they forgot to tell us that the mind matters, and so does the body.
Yeah.
They forgot to tell us that it is not true that you are going through life and you are not being impacted. There is an exchange going on every time we wake up and we engage with this world and we engage with people. It is not true, and I say this most respectfully. Okay, because as people of color, we have learned to armor up. Now it ain't bothered me. No, oh sis, yes it did. You just probably are not aware. Okay, but they forgot to tell us, Dr. C, that we're soil. We're soil. They forgot to tell us, and they forgot to tell us that we live in an incredible body that's doing so many things, and that when we experience things, we can't leave these things unattended, because when we ignore, suppress, or dismiss, they forgot to tell us that what we're doing is burying that stuff in the soil, and what we bury in the soil is going to spring up, and that's what we're looking at.
Yes. Exactly. That that is so powerful what you just said, because even in my own journey of quote unquote the professional clinician, but as a human person who has suffered, I said, in today's world, I'm not just a social worker. That's over with. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I have a master's degree in social work, and I've had it 25 years. But so what if I have no connection to the heart and soul of people?
Yeah.
And so now at almost 60 and being in this career 30 something and worked everywhere intentionally, because I wanted to see the many different areas of suffering.
Yeah.
Now I understand that this is healing the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So this work is not about, let me give you 3 strategies to cope.
Oh, Dr. C, talk about it, please, because
let's get to the core of your soul where the
Yeah.
pain has sat for years and
Yeah.
years and years, and you have learned to accomplish things because that's what we do, but your soul and your heart is still at war.
And Dr. C, I appreciate what you're sharing because, in my view, and I tell this with the human beings I have the honor of serving, and I always offer, I'm sorry. And I tell them because you live in a society, in a Western culture that depicts healing, growth, and thriving in images that are not real to the real work it has to undergo in order to get there. It's painted with sunshine, glitter, and unicorn and Skittles. To heal, to grow, and to thrive, right? And to begin to understand, Dr. C, that number one, I say they forgot to tell us that the mind, the body, and the soul is one system. As people of color, we've learned to live through the mind. We are thinking beings. We don't like to feel. Right. And by all means, we don't like to feel because here's the thing. Most of the time, and I say this in honor and respect, and I always give this disclaimer because whether folk want to believe it's true or not, it still doesn't make it not true. It's not like our families and our communities are sitting around teaching how to understand the language of the body and emotion. We're not doing that. They don't get that until they come to therapy, if they get a well-rounded therapist, right? Okay, if they get one. But then the other part, Dr. C, is this, is that we live from the head up most of the time. We forget all of this body, okay? And not that I'm trying to objectify us, but we are no different than the cars we drive. If the tire blows out, that it's not just the tire that's impacted, it's the whole thing that's impacted. Okay, if you address the tire, then the whole car. If you got something going on in your mind, oh my beloveds, it's going to manifest in your body. There is a direct feeling. There's a direct energetic interaction going on. There are physiological things that are going on, and our people are afraid. They don't know. They can't give language, and they don't understand because where are they teaching us this? They don't do it in church. They don't do that. Majority of the time, if you got a handful, but a lot of them are doing something else that I think is inappropriate and missing lots of context from a clinical standpoint. And it's an issue because people are trying. But I think we have to invite the human beings that we're serving and begin to use our voice to tell people you're not just a thinking being, you are a feeling being. You live in a body and you are also wired for human relationship. You got a whole system going on like that car you drive, okay? And so I'll pause there because it's loaded.
Well, when I thought about having this conversation, and that's just really what I wanted to do was have a conversation, because when you realize this is not really just a vocation, but this is my bishop spoke about a higher calling. And it's a higher calling to help people to become self-aware, just self-aware. Like, do you know the reasons that you behave the way that you do, or the reasons you think the way that you do, or what does the outcomes of your life say? And because we've been taught, and I, from an alcoholism family, view myself as the hero child, because the more I accomplish, the less you can see about really who I am or where I come from. And that's what we've been taught. The more certificates I get, the more polished I am. But deep down inside, I'm broken.
Yeah. Dr. C, I think you said something that is so powerful. And because the thing is, earlier you talked about getting to the roots of things, right?
Mhm.
And when we're looking at what I like to call are survival strategies, the
Mhm.
ways that we as human beings and as a collective, especially people of color, how our nervous system and our brains have learned to survive the tough stuff we've gone through and the tough stuff we're in the dark about and we don't know. And one of the things I think we have to make sure we highlight is helping our people to understand, yeah, you feel this brokenness in your body. And yeah, you're having some of these unpleasant thoughts. But friends, it's your brain and your nervous system that is carrying the problem. You know, they're not really telling us that, first of all, when it comes to mental health and all the diagnosis and all the things, the diagnoses are just symptoms of stuff we're carrying,
That's it.
stories we're carrying. And our brains are not our own, Dr. C. Our brains are not our own. We carry the message and the unhealed stuff of our ancestors in our brain. Some of the stuff that we are dealing with and all the things, and people don't understand why, it's because it's coming down through your ancestral lineage. And no, you're not responsible for knowing that. You ain't nobody sitting around. You know, we got to give disclaimers to even tell people, because I had somebody tell me one time, you know, don't be talking about brain stuff because don't nobody understand that. Help me to understand, because it's the same thing you use in every single day to build and create your life, but we have no understanding how the brain and the nervous system is driving and orchestrating everything.
Because we really
Okay.
don't want to know, because the more I know, the more responsibility and accountable I must be. And so it's easier not to know. Ignorance is bliss. Just let me
Yeah.
walk over here and keep doing what I've been doing. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I've had to change how I even manage having a practice. I don't even call it a practice no more.
Mhm.
I'm here to help heal who wants to be healed. But here's the
Mhm.
thing. God showed me what direction to go with each
Mhm.
person, because I can't use a regular format for everybody, because
Yeah.
everybody is different. And so
Yeah.
as we move forward in this work, how do we craft genuine healing methodologies for people to truly transform and release years of pain? Like you talk about the lineage, the generations, and we may not be responsible for what has been deposited in us, but we
Mhm.
are responsible for our healing and our recovery.
You
I may
know,
not have known that if
yeah.
I smoked a cigarette, I was going to be hooked on nicotine like I had been for years. Well, now that I
Mhm.
know what it does, I'm responsible.
Mhm. You know, and Dr. C, it's powerful because again, you know, you're right. I tell people, I said, you know, there is no one path to healing. Everybody's very unique. Everybody is different. Okay. I think the thing that we have to recognize and also hold space for people is helping them to realize healing is not comfortable.
Not at
So
all.
if you're trying to come and you're saying you want to heal, please understand there's going to be discomfort because you're going to have to be willing to be transparent. In other words, you're going to have to give yourself permission to be seen and not seen through the mask that we often wear, right? But be seen from the soul of who you are. And a lot of the times I meet human beings, I have not, if I sit and think about it to my heart's um, recollection, I haven't served a woman yet or a man yet who hasn't suffered the wound of needing to be seen and doesn't even know what it feels like. Because that's the thing and the beauty about therapy is that therapy is the sacred sanctuary. It is the sacred safe. It is the only relationship one of the few relationships of which there are two people involved usually, and their focus is really on one person.
Mm-hmm.
where you are in the chair, where you are in the light, where you are held, where your needs, your goals, your dreams, your concerns, your fears, your strengths, all of that is highlighted and becomes gold dust, you know? But people on the journey and recognizing that, we have to discover. It's like when we take our cars, when we decide where we're going to go and take our car, you could take your car to the shade tree mechanic and determine how far that's going to get you, you know? But when we talk about this deep healing, right? There are some people who, there's the traditional models of therapy, and I'm sorry to share this, but traditional talk models of therapy, like you said, the coping skills, they are only designed to get you so far, but they're not going to heal what you're carrying in your body. You can't just change the narrative. You have to attend to the body. And I think that we have to ensure that, in our clinical roles, if we are traditional, more narrative folks, that we help the people that we serve, tell them you're not going to have no full body healing with this model. If you want a full body healing, you're going to have to do some somatic therapy. You're going to have to do a therapy like EMDR. You're going to have to do a therapy that is addressing directly, more specifically, the nervous system. I mean, all therapy models address the nervous system, however, okay. But if you are just trying to take care of the mental terrain, please understand, you're going to get a third of a cup of healing, if that.
A third of a cup. But this is something I want to address, and it's with the most intention of love, letting people know that we didn't get into these spaces overnight, and you're not going to come out overnight. Mm-hmm. Even though I had a conversation with someone said, well, hey, I was on crack, but I went to work every day. So in their mind, I'm good. I still got up and went to work. And because my mouth is not always, I'm not always talking professionally, I said, but you was still a crackhead who went to work. So the issue wasn't that you was going to work. The issue was that you were on crack. And what is it in you? You know what I mean? That we need to discuss and release so that you could be free. And I get people who get mad at me in therapy, and I now know that that's good, because if you don't, then something isn't working. And I no longer sit down to make you feel good. That's not my intention. I want you to feel good, but I want you to move beyond feelings and go deeper into your soul so that you become whole.
You said something that was super powerful. First of all, I want to salute you on just because I think that we live in a society right now that we're either on one extreme or the other. We're either super sensitive and everything. Safe don't mean comfortable. Feeling safe in the therapy room doesn't mean you're comfortable. That's not what that means. And I think there's conversation that has to go on with that. Along with receiving therapeutic help means that not only are you seen and you're heard and you're understood, but you're also held accountable through the light that comes into the room. And I think sometimes people, they want to be set free and they want the truth, but they don't recognize that the truth is excruciating. About 98% of the time. The truth is excruciating, okay? And there's a quote, Dr. C, by, oh my gosh, I can't think of the man's name at the moment, but he said, that which gives light must first endure the burn. Viktor Frankl. He said, if you're going to give light, you need to recognize anything that's going to give light has to experience the burn. And so a lot of the times we want things, or we think we want them, until it makes us so uncomfortable. So we're either, very sensitive and folk need to tiptoe, or we're very strong and very self-protected, where folk want to come to therapy and want the therapist to chip away at the walls. I tell folk, I'm not that therapist. I'm not here to do all that. This is 20% of my professional work, and I will hold that space and I will do, but the 80% is on you. Now, I say all that in the same breath of talking about how people can be, and I mean to tell you, you know, and I say this, that I respect everybody's view. Folks will probably come across this video and they got different spiritual beliefs. But I say this, God is incredible. And when Psalm 39 says that we are fearfully and marvelously created, God did that. He did it so much so that we now are able, and a human being, okay, a human being has the capacity in their brain structure and their neurological wiring to be struggling with an addiction, disconnect from that addiction, and then go and perform a job and act like they ain't got no issue. But we call that internal family systems. We call that parts. We call that ego states. People are able to do that. You know what I mean? But God made it possible for your brain to be able to adapt and survive. But we're not going to sit in the therapy session and glorify
right
that you
know.
are smoking crack. We need to understand what is the crack, what's the purpose of the crack, what is the trauma, what is the hurt, what is it helping you to disconnect from?
To a story. And I think we could help people better if we could let them know that their trauma and their pain is a part of their story. It's not necessarily their identity. It's a part of your story. And don't be afraid of your story, because your story is powerful. Pain, and I never thought I would say this, breeds power. And so until I can face my own pain, I remember I was preparing for my first sermon, because for one, I couldn't even believe God was about to have me preach a word from the Bible. Like me, you know what I mean? And I call him my mentor, my brother, he said, well, look, you get in the mirror, you get naked, and you preach to yourself. If it don't move you, it ain't gonna move nobody. So if I can't get naked with myself and accept my story, no matter what it looks like, so that I can evolve to the next place in my story, in the next chapter, in the narrative therapy process, we stay stuck, because I don't want you to know me, because I've been taught to mask. I'm emotionally conditioned. My thinking processes is not founded in anything productive. I've been reacting to life. And so now my beliefs are distorted. But I know how to go to work and make some money. But I'm a personal failure.
And see, and it's so deep, right? Because from what we call an internal family systems lens in mental health, and internal family systems is an incredible therapy that I would even love to see more of us as clinicians talk about and bring to the community, because it will help people to understand, kind of like what we read with Paul, when the Apostle Paul said, one part of me want to do good and the other part out here struggling, trying to do evil, because we all have parts. We have parts of ourselves. There are times when we feel confident, we feel strong. Then there's other parts of ourselves that feel depleted. There are parts of us that are moms, parts of us that are wives, and all of those parts are neurological constructs in our nervous system that have their own story and experience.
Exactly.
And because of that, when you say own the story, it's also owning all parts of yourself.
Yes.
Owning the parts, not just, I know I can be a lot. No. I get it. Okay. I get that you taking accountability and you see things. No, but I'm talking about learning to love all parts of you, learning all parts, the part that struggles, the part that judges, the part that gets defensive, the part that sabotages you, the part that struggles with using a voice, the part that gets out here on social media and acts like he got it all together. There's all different parts. And I think that we have to recognize again, and not that I'm objectifying us, but just like the cars we drive, that car is one vehicle, but it's made up of many different parts. And we are created the same way. And I think if we can begin to recognize and see ourselves, right? And because it's easy to see everybody else. It's easy to look at everybody else. It's easy, okay? But it's difficult when we got to take time and sit with our own selves and learn to embrace where we've been and tell the truth about what we experienced. Not only what happened to us, but also the things we did, the things we said, the things that we created. You know what I mean? It's a whole dance that we have to learn how to embrace if we're going to journey into living more wholly, more authentically, from a compassionate place,
Marianne Williamson says, her quote says something like, you can't say you love a person until you've seen them in their darkness.
Oh, come on. You know what?
So until I've seen you in your darkness, my love is superficial. And so self-love, can I accept the dark side of Christal that God is still working on? But guess what? He can't work. He's sovereign, but I have to take accountability and ask him to help me.
Ooh, Dr. C, when you said that, it made me think of David. When David said, God, take me to the hidden parts. In the hidden parts, teach me, help me to understand and give me wisdom. And I want to say this too, Dr. C, we live in a social world and community that is very judgmental, very critical, very dismissing, all the things. And one of the things I think is important, we have to recognize that we need people in our life, on our team, who can hold space for my darkness without needing to fix it and transform it, because that's not their job. Okay? Can you see me? And don't say, I see you, but I love you. There ain't no buts.
Right.
I see you, I love you. Not, I see you, I know you got this, and I still show up. Not, what are you talking about?
You know what used to get on my nerves? If someone asked me, are you staying out of trouble? Well, what does that mean? I'm being me. Now, you call it trouble. I call it transparent and authentic. You call it trouble because you haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
So my authenticity bothers you because you have yet to take your mask off. And so then it's like, well, are you okay? Because you know how you are. That used to burn my, what do you mean? I know, what that means.
One of the things that I'm passionate about, Dr. C, with the work that I have the honor of doing with the people I serve, I'm big on humility. I'm big on humility in introducing the people that I serve to humility and how to see human beings through a compassionate lens.
That's it.
Because when I hear conversations like that, I used to try to avoid people because I was afraid of them. So I would be the nice therapist or the nice person. And I realized that was my own survival strategy, because I didn't want to endure the burn, that fire of somebody coming at me like that. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and,
I do.
And then I didn't trust myself, Dr. C, because I'm calm and I'm poised. But I got some things going on that I try to keep locked up so I don't cut up, and God's still working on me too, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I would really love to see the people in our community and our families and our inner circles begin to surrender themselves and surrender their tongues from judgment, criticism, and dismissing. But to be able to do that, they got to become present, and they have to recognize, right? You can't speak out of both ends. You cannot be a person that don't like to judge, but you're doing it all the time, and yeah.
Well, I think part of this conversation, we're all the same. My issue may not be your issue, but you have one. And so sin is sin. And Jesus was a compassionate servant. And I think about oftentimes when he talked to the man at the pool of Bethesda, and he said, do you want to, he asked the question, do you want to? And I believe he had passion. He was not criticizing him, but asking him, what do you want? And his response was a stronghold. He had, based upon him being in that place, and it appears that everyone else had something that he didn't, that every time he tried to get to the pool, he had no help. And so I am not minimizing people who feel hopeless, people who are in such a painful state that they don't know what to do or how to do it, but it's still no excuse, because we can't afford excuses. People don't believe they're suffering mentally because they don't understand what it is. And I try to say, hey, if you're thinking, if your behavior, your emotions been out of sorts for longer than 30 days, you can get a diagnosis. And I do understand that that's scientific, but understand that those symptoms and that behavior did not just start. And the origin of it is much deeper than what you realize.
Yeah.
And so,
Go
ahead.
Dr. C, you said something that I think is so powerful. And you gave us the imagery of Jesus with the man at the pool of Bethesda. Jesus demonstrated what it looked like to be a compassionate witness. He was witnessing the condition where the man had been and how long he had been there. He didn't offer that man no judgment. Well, why you like that? Well, what's going on? He didn't do any of that. He simply asked, what do you want? And I think that as a people, if we really sat with how comfortable are we with really leaning in and going in to discover what I want, we're not used to that. Although when we go through the drive-through, we good at listening all the
I
stuff we want.
want a hamburger.
And we know how to do that specifically. However, when it comes to life, it is that internal question that we got to ask ourselves: what really do I want to see happen with this situation? And that man had the same response most human beings do. He's looking externally at things that he cannot control. He's looking, and as soon as he did that, he was releasing his power, which was what was going on with him the whole time. He was disempowered. He had, been in a situation where he was so dependent. Not only was he dependent on the miracle and how it happened, he was stuck in the tradition of how people got healed. He was stuck there. Not only he was stuck there, but he was stuck looking and waiting on help and looking, just being in this place of helplessness, right? But the powerful thing, and I think that there's an uncomfortable truth that this story with this man introduces us to, and I'm not saying it's easy. I am not telling us it's easy, because we all, in the deepest part of us, we all want to be rescued. We all want to be rescued. But friends, I got to tell us something. Baby, ain't no angels coming down with no trumpets. Listen, it ain't coming. As long as you wait, listen, everybody, Dr. C, can we tell you, we want a hero. We want somebody to come and fix it for us. No, you have to become your own rescue. That's what Jesus introduced that man to.
He
He
did.
ushered him. Come on.
But here's another part. And as I still, it's so much that's happening that we don't have control over in the world. The murders, the violence, grief, So we have to learn how to take care of ourselves. And here's the part. When Jesus talked to him, he gave him some instructions and he followed them.
Come on now.
And so getting help, what I'm learning is it's hard for people to follow instructions. And I believe it's connected to fear of change.
Absolutely.
And I believe it's connected to, if I let go of this pain or this chaos, who would I be? Mm-hmm. Who would I become?
Oh, Dr. C, that's so loaded.
I say, but this is all I know. Mm-hmm. And so what would my life be like without this pain?
Yeah.
And so how do I give myself permission to release this pain? Because it's not taking you where you need to be.
I heard something, this a trip. I heard two things. One thing is that, number one, people will change when the pain becomes intolerable. It's not until the pain becomes intolerable. I'm so sorry to tell it to us, okay?
That's true.
People think change, folks think they're going to wake up and tomorrow I got a weight loss goal, okay? And I'm telling you, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to hit this. But what we got to realize is that, number one, it's easier to reuse a skill or a strategy that we've mastered. And unfortunately, a lot of the times those strategies and all the things, they got us to where we are. We're comfortable with them because we know the results. We know how it can give us this inner experience in fast gratification and results and all the things. But all the while, we're yearning for something new and different, and we're going to have to learn. And that's the thing we don't like to do. We don't like to become students of the journey, meaning that we're going to have to embrace the uncomfortable journey of becoming somebody we have never been. People think that they can remain who they are. I could not be this version of myself if I would have remained in the same cycles, in the same patterns, surrounded by the same people, having the same conversations, doing life the same way, and think I was going to get here. No. The whole system has to be disrupted. Even the conversation I now tell myself, the boundaries I set for myself. And people don't talk about how uncomfortable that is, because the reality is those folk who are used to you sitting by the pool, watching and witnessing, folks don't mind you as long as you don't make no move. But as soon as you make a move and you don't need them, then you taking some power and things away from them. You know what I mean? And that's uncomfortable because we want people to be pleased. We don't want people to all the things. But until the pain becomes unbearable, until we decide that, the weight on my body is my knees are aching and my quality of life is leaving. And until we wake up and we touch the pain, we're not going to change. As soon as somebody make us mad, tick us off, we right back at the donut. Why? Because I need some immediate gratification. I need some this. And then we don't get back on the path, But let's normalize it, because, again, with this, you cannot just change and not be aware of the role your brain and your nervous system plays. Please, y'all, that's if I say something. Y'all, don't do this to yourself no more.
Well, we have to retrain the brain.
Come on now.
Because my body wants what it wants until I detox.
Come on now. And that's the part, Dr. C. Folks think they can get out here and just change. No, you're going to have to come on.
Mentally, emotionally, physically, I have to detox, or my body and my brain will crave what it always has.
And it will go back to the default programming.
It will
every time.
It will go back. But see,
every
here's
time.
the part. It's painful to change. And I want people to know that that's okay. That pain will pass.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible talks about after this, whatever that this is, God will restore you. But we already have suffered enough. Mm-hmm. And to think that I got to go through some more pain to change, mm-hmm. For who? Well, you talked about Psalms 139. If God made us fearfully and wonderfully made, the least we could do is mm-hmm. change. Mm-hmm. Because we are his creation. Mm-hmm. We are his creation.
Come on.
But being his creation for a long time didn't matter because I am stuck. I suffer and I have strongholds that need to be dismantled. Then when they are dismantled, I no longer look like who I used to, nor mm-hmm. can I even relate to who I used to could relate to.
See, and you know what, Dr. C? That's why I love EMDR therapy.
Talk about that.
Okay. Talk about that. So EMDR stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing Therapy. Long word, it's EMDR for short. But EMDR is a mind-body therapy, okay? Not only are we addressing the narrative, the story, we are actually releasing and healing the wound in the nervous system, releasing the emotional pain that is stuck in the body, okay, through the original way God designed your brain and body to heal in the first place, you know? And so one of the things I'd love to share with folks about EMDR is that EMDR, Dr. C, you know what I'm saying? People have heard about rapid eye movement and all the things. Rapid eye movement and that system isn't just about helping us to get to dream sleep. There is a healing system. God put in every human being. We have it in us already. There is an adaptive information processing system that is inside of every single human being. But sometimes that system gets blocked by what? Trauma. I heard somebody looked at the comment section and it said, what is the root of the issue? Much of the mental health diagnosis and symptoms, much of them are the result of unhealed trauma.
Absolutely.
Okay? And trauma is not what happened. Trauma is what I went through, whether that was a major accident, whether that was me witnessing stuff in the community, even the stuff me being bullied, me having a reading problem or a learning problem in school, or me having a potty accident that trauma gets stuck in the nervous system. And friends, please hear me. It don't go nowhere just because you forgot about it. Listen, there are things the mind forgets, but the body will always remember because your body is always going to tell you the truth. That wound is still alive in the body. It did not heal just because time passed. It is still there, wreaking havoc. You just don't even recognize how it has impacted a lot of times until we get on a pathway of something like EMDR. However, when we do EMDR therapy, what we're able to do is tap in and lean into the way your brain and body naturally processes memory or experience so your brain can chew, like your digestive system, what happened. And I'm here to tell you, when you get a good trained Indria trained, possibly EMDR therapist, what you heal with EMDR therapy doesn't come back. You are not going to suffer with it again. It does not come back. It don't grow back. It don't do none of that. Okay. And I'm here to tell you that the people I've had the honor of serving, I've witnessed women who've come in with 20, 30 years of trauma in their mind and their body, come out here and start businesses and live a life and build relationships and do things they never thought was possible.
So with that, tell us quickly, how can you be contacted for help, for session, consultation? Give us that information, please.
Absolutely. You know, right now, the best thing to do is to look up my Facebook profile, Tamara J. Brown, EMDR CIT, and just DM me, okay? Because life is busy. And if
Yes.
you DM me, I will respond because I got 6 jobs and I do a whole lot. And so I try to minimize how much time, but to reach out to my Facebook page, or you can also find me on TikTok, Tamara J. Brown, EMDR CIT as well. But I would encourage people to go there. And then if you're interested, if I can't help you because you're not in the state of Texas, I will find you an EMDR therapist that I know is well trained that will be able to serve you. Mm-hmm.
All right. So one last thing, what would you tell people who are struggling and suffering and need help?
Yeah. You matter.
You matter. And I would say you're worth it. Take the steps. Life can get better in spite of what you're experiencing. For those who may suffer and need help, emergency help, Detroit Integrated Wayne Health Authority, call 988. They will come to you to give you some help. Call 911. Go to Detroit Receiving, Sinai Grace Emergency. Reach out to someone. Don't be afraid to share your story. If I can help anyone, also DM me, text me, email. Just know that we're human too, and it is the goal for us as soul healers is to help you get to the place you want to get to. Thank you, everyone who was a part of this discussion. And I look forward to having this conversation again, Miss Tamara J. I love you. And
I love you.
I look forward to us coming to this space again.
I appreciate you. Honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Every day, a truly special group of people wake up early, ready to make a difference in the lives of others and their community.